Hey guys, we are live at the Grind Never Stops podcast. Before I start with this, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in to all of our past segments, and that I want to wish you to say thank you. And I want to tell everyone who's tuned in and has rated us on all the podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and more. And I know it's a hectic day with the US election, but we will start talking about the NBA. So guys, there were rumors that the 76ers are rumored to try to acquire James Harden. And for me, man, Sixers need a shooting guard because you know what Jimmy Butler did for them. They took the Raptors to 7 games, and it was the only team that took that Raptors team to more than 6 games. So James Harden will help a lot of teams. And that we need to see that. We need to see on what's gonna happen with everything, because you know Sixers have a lot of pieces to give up, but are we willing to trade Joel Embiid for James Harden, or are they willing to trade other pieces? Because you know Russell Westbrook is also in true trade rumors, and for the 76ers to go to the next level, they need to get a third guy or trade one of the two. Because to be honest, you can't trade Tobias Harris. You can't trade Tobias Harris and Al Horford, as they're getting paid over $200 million in the next 2-3 years. So you got to look at that. But do the 76ers have the right pieces to trade for James Harden? At this point, you got to trade one of the stars in Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. You got to trade one of them, because the 76ers are not interested in the rest of the lineup that you have. Because the 76ers lost Jimmy Butler, they lost JJ Redick, and that team works well with Simmons and Embiid, with a shooting guard that can shoot and that can take over games. Because you saw Ben Simmons missed the playoffs. Joel Embiid kept shooting jumpers, and there was nobody that they could trust to lead them to the next round, as they got swept by the Boston Celtics. And to be honest, Celtics are not that big of a superstar team, and that's what I feel, that the 76ers, if they had JJ or Jimmy Butler, they would have went to the finals. And if Kawhi stayed with the Raptors, they would have went to the finals once again. But I think James Harden is a good player that Philadelphia should use, and that they should let. But you don't want to trade Ben Simmons to Houston, because why would you have Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons? That doesn't work. If you had 2 ball hogs in Harden and Westbrook, and that didn't work out, what makes you think a Ben Simmons and Westbrook duo it won't work out? Because first of all, Ben Simmons can't shoot threes. Second of all, Westbrook can shoot, but he's a horrible shooter from 3. Ball hog. So I think, do you think the Rockets should rebuild? Absolutely not. They can still win 60 games a year, 50 games a year. But for them to go to the next step, they need James Harden to take over. Because as I explained to you guys in my last segment, when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder, what happened? They went to the finals, But what happened in the finals? They got killed by Miami Heat, and I understand they have LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Mike Miller, Ray Allen, and more. But the X factor in that finals was James Harden. And that's why when they lost in the finals, it was a contract year for James Harden. And they offered Harden, but Harden was not interested, not only about the money, not only about the years in his contract, but he was interested. They were interested. He weren't interested in playing the minutes that he's been playing. And Harden said to himself, okay, I'm done developing. I can start now. I can take my career to the next level. And OKC, it's not like they weren't interested, but they just didn't want. And that's why the Rockets came. The Houston Rockets came and said, we are interested in James Harden. So they traded all these players, all these draft picks, and one of them ended up being Steven Adams, what is kind of working out a little bit in OKC. So James Harden, he said to himself, oh, I can take to the next step. I can start. I've been off the bench for OKC. He goes to Houston, and what happened? What happened the next 2-3 years? Goes 65 wins in a year with Chris Paul, when he played with Chris Paul. He had 50 wins before that. 51. They made the conference finals. They made the semis. And what happened? They lost to the Warriors. Every year they lose to the same team, the Warriors. Because James Harden always relies on free throw shooting, and that doesn't work in the NBA playoffs. And that's why James Harden should say to himself, this year I will take the next level. Because that's what Harden was doing, scoring 60 against the Kings, scoring 60 against Orlando. But in the playoffs, where was his points? They barely beat the Oklahoma City Thunder this past playoffs in the bubble. They barely beat the OKC Thunder. And yes, James Harden had a wonderful defensive play, but there wasn't any plays like that against the Lakers. And yes, they won game 1, but what happened there? After game 1, they won. Westbrook started getting cocky, and the game was over. And that's why James Harden, I think the media needs to stop giving him get out of jail free cards, because he always get a pass. Every year he loses. But this time he cannot get a pass. The Rockets were predicted, and he even said himself, I'm going to take this to the next level. And especially you acquire a superstar point. I don't say superstar, but you acquired elite point guard in Russell Westbrook. And yeah, people will agree he's not elite, but he's a point guard. So James Harden has had Chris Paul, prime Chris Paul. He also has had Westbrook. Are these the right players for James Harden? Chris Paul was the right player, and unfortunately he got injured. He got injured, but James